Code of conduct for the followers of the Imam. Majlis 14. The followers of the Imam should be fair to others. As far as oppression is concerned, God has guaranteed his help to the oppressed. He who exposes himself to the wrath of God will be severely punished here and hereafter. The Holy Quran says, God will help him who is oppressed by others. Let us take a serious notice of this threat of God. Let us not treat it lightly. If God does not fulfill it immediately, we should not ignore his threat. In the case of human beings, usually revengeful people try to wreak vengeance on their victims at the earliest opportunity. They do so because they are afraid of dying before they are able to satisfy their feelings of vengeance. No such considerations weigh with God. If he postpones his punishment and lets the culprit scot-free for some time, he will certainly punish him a little later, here or in the next world, whenever he likes. His punishment is much severe and of a permanent nature. It is said that someone went to Imam Jafar and said, "O the grandson of the Prophet, will you explain to us the meaning of the following verse? God destroys usury and blesses the charities." In our everyday life, we find that usually money increases by usury and decreases by the charities drawn out of it. The Imam said in reply, "Nothing is more patent than the decrease of the money acquired by usury. If the one who receives this money repents of his misconduct and gives it away, it is gone. If he does not repent here, hellfire will overtake him and will melt him along with the money." This is also a kind of oppression. Oppression is never tolerated by God in any form. If he inflicts the punishment on the oppressor, he is doomed to destruction. The Quran says, "When God help you, the oppressed, no one can overpower you." This is the promise which is held out to the oppressed. If he postpones his help to the oppressed and spares the culprits in this world, the punishment in the next world will be of the severest type. The one who is to be helped by God shall be helped by him sooner or later, because God has no time limit for fulfilling his promise. Besides, there is no fear of loss of opportunity with him. Nothing can deter him from his actions. God forbid us from our being oppressive. Oppression is the worst of sins. If it is directed against the Imams, it calls for the severest punishment. For he who oppresses the Imams oppresses God and his Prophet. Oppression is a sort of disobedience to God. He who obeys the Imams obeys God and his Prophet, and he who disobeys them disobeys God and his Prophet. To oppress the Mu'mins and the friends of the Imams is as bad as to oppress the Imams. It is a horrible sin. It is forbidden by God in general. His threat is always hanging on the head of the oppressor. The Prophet says, "If one mountain were to be oppressive to another, God would break the oppressor to pieces." The Quran says, "If one is oppressed, God is sure to come to his help." God has commanded us in his holy book that we should wage a jihad against the oppressors of the Imams and the Mu'mins. Hostility, fighting, slandering or harming are the different forms of oppression. Calumniating a person by spreading false news against him is also included in the category of oppression. Those who speak the truth and are fair-minded never fabricate scandalous things about others and indulge in this kind of impression. The worst form of oppression is to run down innocent people in the presence of the Imams and to scandalize them by charging them with things which they have never done and which they are least likely to do. This is a double sin. It is a combination of oppression to the innocent people and insolence to the Imams. Jealousy is another vice which is condemned in general. Mu'mins are forbidden by God from being jealous of one another. To be jealous of the Imams is an unimaginable form of monstrosity. The Holy Quran says, "Are the people envious of what God has conferred upon them as a favour? We have favoured Ibrahim with our book and wisdom, and we have given them a large kingdom." Imam Jafar bin Mohammed say, "We are the persons who are referred to in these verses as those who are envied by others. They envy us because of the Imamat which God has conferred on us. It is a great kingdom which is referred to in the above verse. Envy, says the Imam, is the root of all sins. It was the first sin that was committed in heavens and on earth. It was the first sin that was committed by man and the jinn. Satan envied Adam, and envy was the cause of his disobedience. One of the sons of Adam, whose sacrifice was not accepted by God, became envious of his brother, whose sacrifice was accepted, and killed him outright." The Holy Quran says, "People in hellfire will cry out, 'O God, show us these two persons from amongst the jinnis and human beings who have misled us, so that we may be put under them, under our feet, and make them the lowest inmates.'" It is said that it was the devil and Qabeel who were amongst the first to commit the sin of disobedience from amongst the jinnis and human beings, and they were the first to introduce this vice on earth. Similarly, those who deny the prophethood of the prophets and the Imamat of the Imams, and assume a hostile attitude towards them by attempting to encroach upon their rights, are prompted by nothing but envy. They like that they themselves should become the prophets and the Imams. Man is envious by nature. If he finds someone in possession of something which he has not got, he tries to deprive him of it. If one commits theft or an act of seduction or indulges in other sins of this type, the motive behind his acts is always envy. It is for these reasons that the Imam Jafar says, "Envy is the root of all sins." Much of the human sufferings is caused by envy. One of the Imams says, "I have never seen an oppressor like an envious person feeling more depressed than the oppressed ones." Just as running down the innocent people before the Imams is the worst form of oppression, because it is a combination of two sins, one against the people and the other against the Imams, to be envious of those who are favoured by the Imams is the worst form of envy. It is a double sin. It is envy against the people plus the denial of the right doings of the Imams. This sort of envy indicates that those who are favoured by the Imams are not the deserving persons. In other words, it means that the Imams are not justified in their favouring these undeserving persons. It means a double hit. A hit against those persons and a hit against the Imams. It is the worst combination of two sins. The vice of greed is equally detestable. It is one of the worst things which have been prohibited by God. To be greedy in general is condemnable, but to be greedy of the properties of the Imams is the worst sin that one can imagine. It is an act of treachery and an encroachment on the rights of the Imams. It is the most atrocious thing and the worst possible crime that one can commit. Putting a wrong construction on the actions of people is a horrible thing, and to misconstrue the acts of God is the worst form of this horror. The Holy Quran says, "With regard to those who misconstrue the acts of God, the evil of thy misconstruction is directed against them. He curses them and has kept for them hellfire in store. Their end is bad." Since the devotion to the Prophet and the Imams is linked with the devotion to God, to misconstrue the actions of the Imams is as monstrous as to misjudge the acts of God. The misconstruction of the actions of the Mu'mins, who are the devotees of the Imams, is equally horrible. Imam Jafar says, "God has made it unlawful for a Mu'min to shed the blood of his brother Mu'min, or to dishonour him, or to misappropriate his property, or to misconstrue his actions." Ill will is another vice of this kind, which is equally condemned. A Mu'min is forbidden from showing it to another Mu'min. But if he shows it to the Imams, not only he commits the most heinous sin, but he ceases to be a Mu'min. He becomes a hypocrite. O the devotees of God, keep aloof from these dreadful things. See that you display none of these vices by your words or by your deeds. Never entertain them even in your thoughts. Never show signs of approval if you notice these vices in others. God says, "The ears, the eyes, and the hearts will all be questioned about their actions." Be sincere in your dealings with God, His Prophet, and the Imams. Be fair and square in your dealings with them and with the Mu'mins. Keep a strict watch over yourselves. The perfection of faith, decency of behaviour, and straightforwardness depend upon the extent to which you watch your own conduct. You should be more afraid of your own selves than of others. If you do so, you will never do a thing which will bring you to disgrace before others. You will never do things which will lower you in the eyes of God or in the estimation of your fellow men. In conclusion, O Mu'mins, keep a strict watch on yourselves. Peep into your hearts and find out your defects. If you do not detect them, others will point them out to you. May God help you and us in doing things which meet with His approval.